Biggest selling UFC fights of all time. What are the top 5 UFC fights which sold like millions of PPV buys and generated millions of revenues? So let's see which are the top 5 biggest fights in UFC history. 5. UFC 257 featuring Conor McGregor vs Dustin Poirier 2. This fight took place in Abu Dhabi in January 2021. This fight generated over $100 million revenue and it has sold 1.5 million PPV buys. So this fight was so hyped because it was a return fight of Conor McGregor after he fought in 2020. He didn't fight like 1 year. After that, they did this fight, and we saw humble Conor McGregor in this fight because he was humble to Dustin Poirier. So that's why this fight was so hyped and sold over 1.5 million PPVs. Number 4. Brock Lesnar vs Frank Mir 2. This fight was so hyped because of Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir's dispute, because they don't like each other, and this fight took place in UFC 100. UFC 100 was stacked card with George St. Pierre was in the card, and many other superstars was in the card. So that's why this fight was so hyped, and this sold over 1.6 million PPV buys and generated over $80 million in revenue. So this fight was basically the biggest fight in UFC history until Conor came into the UFC. So before that, this was the biggest fight in UFC history. Number 3. UFC 202. This took place between Nate Diaz vs Conor McGregor 2. This fight was so hyped because Conor McGregor lost the fight against Nate Diaz before, so people were hyped to see the comeback of the Conor McGregor. So that's why this fight was so hyped, and this has generated over $90 million in revenue, and it has sold over 1.65 million PPV buys. So this is the third biggest fight in UFC history because of the star power of Conor McGregor. Number 2, UFC 264. Conor McGregor vs Dustin Poirier 3. This fight was so hyped because Conor McGregor became heel again, and he started talking shit over Dustin Poirier and his family. So that's why this fight was so hyped, and Conor McGregor broke his leg in this fight too. So that's a bad thing happened in this fight, but other than that, PPV was really good. 1.8 million PPV buys and generated $120 million in revenue. So this is a wonderful fight. This is a wonderful fight for UFC. This was a successful event, and this is the second biggest fight in UFC history. Number 1, Conor McGregor vs Khabib in UFC 229. This fight took place in 2018 in October 6th, and this fight sold over 2.4 million PPV buys and generated over $180 million in revenue. This fight was so hyped because people were so into this fight because of the storyline, and because Conor didn't like Khabib didn't like Conor, so it was a real dispute between these guys. So they really didn't like each other. So that's why this fight was so big. And every fight was featuring Conor McGregor, unless one fight, I think top 5, Frank Mir versus Brock Lesnar. Other than that, every fight was featuring Conor McGregor. So this is a proof that Conor McGregor is a big star in UFC history, but till yet. So there are some of the up-and-comers who can match the level of Conor McGregor or surpass Conor McGregor in future. So I don't know about that, but until this, Conor McGregor was the biggest star in UFC history, and he's the guy who sold most PPV buys for UFC and generated more revenue for UFC. So this is a top 5 biggest UFC PPV events of all time, and that's it. And subscribe and like this video. That's it. Tune in for next video. I will sell more PPV than Conor McGregor.